Hello everyone, this is Dr. Rob Ward and I'd like to welcome you to our webinar. The topic of our webinar today is the science of healing pertaining to the science of redox biochemistry. So for the next 25 to 30 minutes I'd like to share with you some breakthrough concepts that have emerged from this rapidly evolving area of health science called the science of redox signaling. My background, just by way of introduction, is as a clinician. I'm a family physician. I'm board certified in family practice and have for the last 30 years served as a primary care physician in rural Kentucky. I have a background in functional medicine and am also a member of the American Society of Addiction Medicine and operate a substance abuse clinic here in Richmond, Kentucky. My education ended at the University of Cincinnati, where I did my family practice residency, and began at the University of Illinois School of Medicine. The science of redox signaling, or redox biochemistry, is really an exploding field of science. Whether it be books, journals, or medical conferences, you will find authors from all over the globe, and you will find that there are at least 100 brand new scientific studies that are being published in peer-reviewed journals every month. This area of science pertains not just to humans, but it also pertains to the areas of biology, including plants, bacteria, any cellular creature or living organism applies this new category of health science. So today, this journal is shown here, Antioxidants and Redox Signaling, is a monthly publication for physicians. So there are conferences happening all over the world that are not just in the area of anti-aging, but also in the area of this new category of health science. Redox signaling technology is truly destined to fuel some of the greatest advances in medical science this coming century. It is fundamental to all biological and multicellular processes. It is non-specific and non-toxic and applicable to a broad range of physiological pathways. In essence, it's at the very core of mediating and regulating mechanisms that restore functionality and health. That is the essence of what we're going to be discussing tonight. So how do our cells really work? Our cells are complicated building blocks of our body, and they contain tiny little machines within them that help them carry out their various functions. So there's structure and function built into every cell, and cells have to be able to defend themselves and replicate themselves and regulate themselves in order for us to have healthy bodies. So at the core of our body really is our cells. And our cells need redox signaling equipment. So this is a little more simplified view of a cell. There's a cell membrane and a nucleus. We can think of cells having shields. Our shields are endogenous antioxidants. These are antioxidants that we don't supplement or eat. They are manufactured within our cells. So they're endogenous in nature. These antioxidants defend our cells. They protect our cells from toxins, eliminate free radicals, shield against various metabolic threats. They go by different names: glutathione, superoxide dismutase, catalase, for example. And as you can see, this shield has some rust on it, so it's not very effective. Cells also have transport systems on the cell membrane, the cell wall. These transport systems, we can just call them mailbox. They allow materials like food and oxygen to come into the cell and let waste products and metabolites get out. So cells have to have a way to get things in and out in order for things to operate efficiently. Cells also have communication systems, and you can metaphorically think of cells as having a cell phone. So this particular type of machinery allows a cell to talk to another cell, to talk to the immune system, to talk to other areas of the body. And the purpose is to communicate the needs and the status of the cell. So there might be an emergency signal that needs to go out, for example. So redox signaling molecules affect the functioning of these three critical machineries of our cells. So redox signaling molecules activate the antioxidant shields, get rid of their rust. They lubricate the membrane transport system, or the mailbox, so that everything's working well, getting materials in and out of the cell. And it increases the carrier reception so that we've got a 5-bar signal and 3G and all that, so that cells can really get clear messages out and receive clearly defined instructions from other areas of the body. Maybe it's a nearby cell. In this case, we've got a group of cells, and when we have healthy cells grouped together, we get healthy tissue. We have a grouping of healthy tissues, we get to have good health. And so in this instance, we've got cells that have good signals, good shields, and good membrane transport systems. Redox signaling molecules mediate the communication channels between cells. And in this diagram, you can see a fluorescent stain that has illuminated the redox molecules that are located between cells and are being used by these cells to communicate their status. There's a constant chatter that's going on between cells at all times. So these molecules are found within cells and between cells in every environment of our body, well, even across the blood-brain barrier. And their purpose is to communicate messages that have to do with the environments that these molecules are within. Health really should be equated with healing. And we don't always think of it that way, but it's in fact true. In other words, if you meet somebody and say, "How's your health?" really you should be saying, "How is your healing?" Sounds funny, but here's why that statement is really very accurate. Our cells are damaged every day. Sunlight, toxins, chemicals, infections, and irritants of all kinds damage our cells every day. Cuts, scrapes, and bumps, even minor injuries, all of these things require millions of cells to be involved in regeneration and replacement processes. Even exercise and exertion causes damage to cells, and that results in tenderness and soreness that we identify with athletic endeavors. Cellular healing is equal to health because without the cellular healing process, life could not exist. In other words, if we stopped manufacturing redox molecules in our cells, we would be dead in a few hours. It won't happen, don't worry, but it would be the truth. Healing is at the very heart of our health, and you can actually see where all health problems can be linked to damaged cells. Not some, but all. Every time there's a health problem, you've got a damaged cell problem. So damaged cells have to decide, are we going to repair ourselves or replace ourselves? They have the capacity to do this because of the equipment that we have. So here's a grouping of cells, and let's say there's an invasion from a foreign object. In this case, it looks like little mice, but suppose it's a germ. And we've got a toxin that's invaded our tissues, and lo and behold, two of these cells, actually three of these cells, are kind of half beat up, and one is very, very, very much damaged. So this damage calls out a response, and the immune system, like little tanks, come in and try to get rid of the threat. They deploy their weapons and eliminate the germs, and then once that job is accomplished, they're no longer needed and the immune system retreats. Then, having eliminated the threat, the cells then have to decide, are we going to repair or replace? So the partially damaged cells are able to activate the repairing processes, and they're getting back into balance. But this one cell that's very dark in color is beyond repair, and he decides to kill himself to get out of the way so that the neighboring tissue can replicate itself and fill in the gap. This is a marvelous and miraculous process that is at the heart of our health. With this working like a finely tuned machine, we can enjoy good health. The redox signaling molecules we've been referring to actually originate and disintegrate inside every cell in our body. Every cell has a power plant. We call it the mitochondria. And the mitochondria's job is to take food and produce energy, cellular energy. It's called ATP. And this process of converting food into energy is called oxidative phosphorylation. And this process revolves around a cycle called the Krebs cycle, that if you have studied biochemistry in college or school, it will oftentimes make your hands sweat just thinking about memorizing all these chemical equations. But long story short, as part of creating this energy, in the Krebs cycle, we release a product that we used to think was like exhaust or a byproduct. They're called redox molecules. These are positively or negatively charged particles that are very tiny in size. They're 4 atoms and less. And their job is to donate or accept electrons. Now, in this diagram, their symbol is either blue or red. And the blue one is a reducing substance or a negatively charged particle. And the red one is a positively charged species or a reactive oxygen species. So the mitochondria are producing energy and as a result creating these molecules. And then glutathione peroxidase, which is located around the nucleus of most of our cells, its job is if there's any excess of these molecules left over, it breaks them down. And it can do that if they're in balance. So to extrapolate this to a little bit bigger picture, here's a cell, a healthy cell, and here's one mitochondria. And by the way, cells contain many mitochondria. Some cells have as many as 5,000, some have just a few. So they're producing these molecules, in this case, in balance. And at the nucleus, the antioxidant shield is breaking down any excess that are not needed. And this is called producing these redox signaling messengers in homeostatic balance. And so there they are, being produced and broken down. Everybody's happy. In damaged cells, redox signaling messengers are out of balance. And in this particular picture, we have some appearance of some oxidative stress. Too many of the oxidants have built up as a result of some issue for this cell, and that presence of this oxidative stress is causing damage to the cell membrane and also damage to the nucleus, as you can see in my diagram. So there's too many oxidants, and we can't break it all down. And so they're getting through and causing damage. So in healthy tissue, redox signaling is in homeostatic balance. So now we've got a bigger group of cells, and you can see everybody's happy and balanced. Redox imbalance or oxidative stress signals the protect, repair, replace response. And so here we've got a situation where there's an oxidative burst, too many of these oxidants because this cell has got a problem. And that burst is a signal for the protect, repair, replace response that is going to be activated. And as a result, that cell is going to, if it's way beyond repair, is going to get out of the way, and replication can occur with the nearby healthy cell and fill in the space. The steps to cellular healing are basically 3 things: cellular damage recognition, detection and elimination of threats, and cellular repair or replacement. The recognizing cellular damage is ubiquitous and unique to all living organisms. In fact, in all forms of life, where there's stress or trouble, there are a buildup of oxidants. This condition is called oxidative stress. That's true for plants and animals alike. These excess oxidants alert the cell that damage has taken place. And the immune system is also going to respond to this oxidative stress. So the oxidative stress sends out the red flag, indicating a healing process is activated. Redox messages are sent. The immune system recognizes the damage. So here's a malfunction and some bacteria. It deploys the systems. We're going to release the weapons, get rid of the threat. When oxidative damage, when the oxidative stress is diminished, only healthy cells remain. And the immune system is no longer useful. They retreat and get out of the way. And then normal cellular division is stimulated to fill in the missing holes. And this tissue is able to return to a healthy, regenerated tissue. In the last 10 years, there's been some astonishing findings in this new category of health science. it's been discovered that redox signaling is really fundamental to all forms of life on Earth, plants, prokaryotic and as well as eukaryotic cells, in other words, bacteria and sophisticated cells. Multiple cellular defense, repair, and replacement signaling pathways have been implicated and connected to this area of redox signaling. For example, DNA repair, cell division rates, tissue regeneration, protective enzyme production and efficacy, leukocyte adhesion, vascular regeneration, and many more. This list is growing exponentially, and it's part of that rapid, productive research that's going on. It's filling up these medical journals with some astonishing findings. So let's take a look at a little different level, and this is also an area of investigation and interest. What about chronic oxidative stress as advances of aging of tissue or poor health? So here we've got tissue that's full of oxidative stress, and it's just on and on and on. We've got poor health, where that can't really be repaired. What about the idea or an innovation of infusing a balanced redox signaling molecule formulation into this tissue? And so here's the stressed out tissue, and then we supply both the blue and the red type molecules in a balanced formulation. Now these cells are bathed in the molecular messengers it needs to restore homeostasis. So here are the discoveries. It's been a tremendous amount of groundwork toward redox signaling supplement development. And the whole concept is, could stable complexes of redox signaling molecules be manufactured? Can the bioactivity of such be really characterized? Can such complexes be non-toxic and readily absorbed? Can this technology be commercialized? And so here are some of the findings of what is called ASEA. This complex of stabilized redox molecules has the ability to withstand extreme temperatures from 0 to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. It has a shelf life of a year and a half-life of 2 years. These complexes survive gastric environments with more than a 5-minute half-life, which is astonishing. These components can be detected in the blood for up to 2 hours, and we have in vitro toxicity and efficacy tests by senior researchers in cellular molecular biology that we're going to be discussing tonight. What is the composition of ASEA? ASEA is formulated from pure salt and distilled water. There are no impurities in this product that would activate these molecules, and it would destabilize its shelf life. The saline solution that is initially formulated then travels through a process that electrolyzes this saline solution and essentially oxidizes and reduces these molecules. So the sodium and chloride are kind of separated apart, and the hydrogen and oxygen are somewhat displaced, and then they're reassembled into 16 different kinds of molecular configurations, 8 of which are positively charged, 8 of which are negatively charged, in perfect balance. So that it's absolutely fascinating. There's water that remains in this solution that helps to stabilize these molecules, and a tiny amount of sodium to provide some electrical neutrality. The amount of sodium is extremely small. It's 123 milligrams of sodium per 4 ounces. And that would be less than the sodium in 1 slice of whole wheat bread. Extremely tiny. I'd like to summarize several studies here that have been done that outline the safety of this product, first of all. We have in vitro toxicity studies of this oral formulation that was performed by a national laboratory. The way we studied this was to look at the translocation of transcription factor P65 and PJUN into the nucleus that would indicate a toxic response. In other words, when cells are exposed to a toxin, there's a reaction and they try to defend themselves. And so there's translocation of certain transcription factors. And so here's the findings of this study. There was a negative control, and you can see the nucleus is kind of dark. Then cells were bathed in a 5% concentration of ASEA or a 20% concentration of ASEA, and then of course we had a positive control. And you'll notice that even under extremely high concentrations of ASEA, there was no difference from that nucleus to the negative control on the far left. Now what's interesting is when we drink ASEA, the best we can obtain, the highest concentration, is approximately 1% tissue concentration. So here at levels that are 20 times what we could achieve through oral supplementation, there's still no signs of any toxicity to these human cells. We also have completed a study that's an in vitro study on endothelial cells, which are human cells that are the lining cells of our digestive tract. And in this instance, we looked at the antioxidant efficiency or effectiveness for this oral formulation. And there are two important findings. First of all, this study showed that at a 5% concentration, these cells actually showed a translocation of transcription factor NRF2, which indicates an activation of antioxidant upregulation. And this process was verified with Western blot to show that we had both glutathione and superoxide dismutase increased production that lasted for well over 120 minutes and was substantial in size. So this is really fascinating and very, very positive results. But just increasing production is not the whole story. What really is astonishing and has never been demonstrated before, to my knowledge, is that we actually can demonstrate an increase in efficiency of glutathione and SOD. We used an array designs Streshton kit. And basically, this measures what happens to a cell when a powerful oxidizing chemical is added to a cell culture. And what we discovered at a 5% tissue concentration, as well as in a very tiny amount at 2.5 of full strength, ASEA was found to help protect these human cells from this powerful oxidizing agent and activated glutathione and SOD by more than 500%. This is astonishing, and I think at the heart of why we see such an incredible impact on human physiology. Additionally, ASEA, when it began marketing this product commercially, had many contacts from professional and endurance athletes who were noticing that in addition to experiencing generally better health, athletes were noticing that there was an enhancement in their ventilatory abilities. In other words, their endurance was enhanced. So they did a pilot study on a group of 17 athletes, and they measured their VO2 max and their ventilatory thresholds. This is sort of a torture test on a treadmill that athletes wear as a badge of courage, in essence. But they did a baseline study on this group of athletes. They then had them drink 4 ounces of ASEA a day and continue their normal routine, come back in 2 weeks, and repeat the torture test. The findings were amazing. The time to ventilatory threshold was increased on an average of 12%. The time to the VO2 max was increased by an average of 10%. There was better aerobic utilization of oxygen, faster recovery times were reported, and much less muscle soreness in terms of their recovery abilities. So let's talk about some of the conclusions we can draw from this information. Aging, occurs due to the proliferation of damaged or less efficient cells that gradually take over and replace the efficient cells. So unrepaired cell damage accelerates aging and increases the chances for promoting more and more damage. Those damaged cells have the ability to repair themselves or replace themselves, but often chronic problems and aging lies in the cells not receiving clear action eliciting signals to do so. So we come to become familiar and accepting of mediocrity at a tissue level. There's no recognition that this is woefully insufficient and shouldn't be tolerated, but there's no signals, there's no awareness that the cell is, kind of falling off of its abilities. Redox signaling formulations can have anti-aging benefits because of the increased production and efficiency of these endogenous antioxidants, the kind we can't eat or supplement. So these protect against oxidative damage. SOD is involved in neuron health and protection. The detoxification processes are mediated through these powerful antioxidants, and reductants are really necessary to regenerate our antioxidants. The anti-aging benefits of redox signaling carriers, both inside and between cells, activate the detection of damaged cells, cause quicker replacement of damaged cells, more precise immune responses. They clarify the regenerative process, and it normalizes the proper redox potential that is needed to optimize signaling at all cellular fluids and receptors. So why is a healthy balance of redox messengers important? Well, here's it. The issue is too many oxidants in the cells or blood causes damage and aging to all tissues. This is sort of like rust, the athlete who's burning lots of fuel and creating lots of waste and oxidants. They developed oftentimes hardening of the arteries and will have heart attacks even though they look great. They're rusting from the inside out, in essence. The incorrect balance of reductants and oxygens can cause the immune system to attack healthy cells and inflame tissue and cause slow healing. This is what you would categorize kind of as autoimmune phenomenon. And then too few oxidants will allow damaged and infected cells, those that should be flagged and destroyed by the immune system, to thrive and divide and spread the damage. So this would be, instead of having a sniffle or something, you wind up with a high fever in the ICU because there were no red flags, nothing got called out, no cannons and weapons were deployed. So how can I help maintain a healthy redox balance? Well, nutrition is important, and the raw materials are needed to support our immune system. Vegetables and fruits and juices and things like that, or even antioxidants and supplements. But it behooves us to find a product like ASEA that has the correct balance of reductants, the ammunition, that enhance the action of the antioxidants and fuels the immune system. And of course, not enough can be said about the importance of maintaining a healthy mental attitude. It does measurably help to balance our body chemistry. What can redox signaling do for you? In summary, it promotes health, healing, and restoration of cells. It has anti-aging benefits. It has preservation properties for healthy cells. It powers cellular protection. We have athletic, aerobic enhancement. We have antioxidant empowerment. We build cell defenses. We optimize immune function. We speed restoration of healthy tissue. We quietly power up our health. As a family practitioner, I encourage anyone in the health field to take a very careful look at the science behind this new technology. People are searching for pathways to balance. People are not necessarily interested in more or better sophisticated disease therapy. They're looking for a way to get under, beneath, at a foundation to the imbalances in their physiology, to find sound scientific pathways that will allow them to arrest the process of breakdown of aging and inefficiencies that oftentimes come with aging out of balance. The whole concept of looking at aging in balance is absolutely fascinating to me, not to mention the whole process of activating the prevention miraculous properties of our body. In essence, ASEA does nothing. It is not a medical product. It is not designed to cure or heal anything. What it does do is provide a resource of these foundational molecular supplement that has the ability to activate efficiencies and create an opportunity for real synergy in our health systems that I've never seen occur before. And so I will say, in the 30 years I've been in medicine, this is the first time there's ever been a paradigm-shifting health technology breakthrough. And I'm grateful to be alive and practicing medicine at a time of this tremendous breakthrough. So please take a careful look at the science and get your questions answered. I appreciate your attention